I am so excited about our guide today. Her name is Stephanie Lilly Smith. She is a mompreneur with a background in many things, from being a producer to working in the industry as an agent to running a business called Creatricity. She's also traveled the world on a cruise, maybe multiple. We have to confirm that later. But either way, Stephanie is a force. And the thing that keeps her going is her mindset, her background in Kundalini yoga. And then she has many other things to add to that, which I will allow her to share later on in this episode. But Stephanie, welcome to Gifted and Guided.
Thank you, Nialah. I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you. Before we get into the gems that you're going to share, we're going to start off with a fun game. With that being said, you got this, all right? Stephanie, I believe in you. All right. I am born of fear, yet I am the catalyst for growth. I am the place where magic happens, but it often feels uncomfortable. What am I?
The dark?
I mean, it kind of...
Midnight, the in-between, the dark was the first thing that came up for me.
Well, I guess we could look at it like that, but it's actually the discomfort zone.
Okay. Synonymous.
Exactly. That's what I'm like, that's a really good answer, because a lot of times comfort zone can be very scary. It's a dark place to be in. Yeah. You have a hard time finding the light sometimes. And so that's a really good answer.
Thanks.
I have a fun fact to share with you. So I did some research, and this platform called Kajabi research imposter syndrome within the entrepreneurial community. Now, they had 600 participants, and these participants didn't know that they were a part of an imposter syndrome study. However, 84% of the business owners reported struggling with imposter syndrome out of 600 participants. That goes to show you how common it is. And then as we go into demographics, those that identify as male and female, they said that 30% of men reported to have imposter syndrome more so than women did, which was very interesting. Yes, there was a higher percentage
more of men. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
With that being said, how have you managed to step into the lanes of discomfort while facing imposter syndrome?
I think that number one, the stat is staggering.
Yeah.
And also, being an entrepreneur means that 90% of your work is going to be mindset focused.
Yeah.
And
so
staying
true.
on top of how you feel every day. Because even when imposter syndrome creeps in, what are you doing with it?
Right.
Are you allowing it to define you? Are you allowing it to be, because ultimately those things are not even true. So if you know that, then when those thoughts come, and they're going to come because you're human, you can just say, well, that's not true.
Right.
And then you put an affirmation in place of that. Whether you mentally recite it or you say it out loud, you have a reframing statement for every negative thought that you think is how I've chosen to approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's where affirmations come in, or no?
I want to say affirmations because they can get tricky.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. You can get in the mirror and say, I am kind, I am powerful, I am strong, whatever. But if you don't feel that, nothing is going to shift.
Right.
And I think that's where people and the woo-woo community and just in general when they're talking when they're talking
Who made
about,
that up? Who made that up? The woo woo
well,
community.
it's spooky, right?
Is it?
People find spirituality sometimes to be a little bit spooky because we can't see God. We can
Okay.
feel God. We can, whatever you connect with source is something that is within us. So sometimes people are like, well, that's not real because I can't see it or I can't touch it or I can't taste it. You can't get it with your normal five senses. You
But you can
really
say the same thing about a vision, right?
were. Absolutely. You're
Like if you
right.
have an idea and you're like, I think I'm going to do this thing. You don't necessarily know what that's going to look like, how you're going to do it,
You're right.
but you do it anyway. So,
That's it. That's right. That's absolutely right because you have to, without faith, you can't do the things that are unseen. So
right.
people who are not acquainted with faith, they have to come up with a feeling. And they have to resonate with, I feel great or I feel this thing. So if you're saying an affirmation and you're
Right.
not matching it with that feeling, then your actions are going to be incongruent with what you're saying. And then you're not going to have the result that you want.
And that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think to your point of being able to feel the thing that you're saying, to know that it is true to you, it aligns with the whole authenticity thing, right? Like everyone talks about being authentic
Yeah.
and showing up accordingly, especially when it comes to social media.
Mm.
But what does that look like offline? Like, how do you show up for yourself?
Yes.
And how are you? And you can also talk about boundaries
Yeah.
being a part of that, because if you're not able to speak up for yourself, advocate for what you want, what you need, or to even know what that looks like in your
That's been
life,
big. Yeah. That's been
it's
big for me.
hard.
It's very hard. And also, I will say for most entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and then you add being a minority on top
Mm,
of that,
yep. Comes with a lot.
it comes with a lot. And then ultimately, it's like, well, I have to do certain things in order to put my brand in front of the right people or, get this opportunity because, if I say no, then I'm not going to have that opportunity.
Yes.
When in actuality, if you stand on business
Right.
and if you set boundaries in place, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to attract that ideal customer.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what that opportunity was, it wasn't yours
You
because
know,
you, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, no, as you say, standing on business. I think that song, is it a Drake song? I don't know whose
Which
song it
one?
is. The whole where did standing on business come from? Dang. I
No
promise I'm a
idea. I told
millennial,
you I don't listen
but
to the music,
see,
so I don't know.
yeah, I'm more of an R&B girl, but
Yes.
um, we say
Hashtag
these
Victoria.
things, we repeat, what'd you say?
Hashtag Victoria Monet.
100% Victoria Coco Jones. I recently started
Yes.
listening to her. I was like, okay, that's more like the relationship side of
Yes.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a different. I'm not going to go off
Yes.
topic.
Okay.
As we talk about speaking about standing on business, lyrics, the things we say, and
Mm-hmm.
how we're repeating these lyrics in these songs, but not actually like meaning it, or not
But
like implying
there's
it.
spells.
Yeah, I've heard
You cast a
that.
spell anytime you say, like, anytime we're singing a song,
Cause your words are powerful.
anything you say,
Yeah.
anything you think,
Yeah.
because your thoughts are silent speech too.
That's true. So how do we control that?
No one's asking you to control it necessarily, but it's
Uh-huh.
the awareness of when those thoughts come up or when those lyrics come up. It's reframing or changing the station altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also change the station in your mind of like, I need a reframing statement for that thing that just came up or that lyric. I'm just going to change the song altogether because that doesn't feed me in the way that I
Right.
need it to. You have to, the awareness is now, I can't listen to that music because of what it does to me and
Yep.
ultimately how I'm interacting on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that has been a part of my life as of this year. Soca music is a part of me, right?
Yes.
Caribbean girl.
Yes.
And I've noticed with soca music, outside of them talking about like whining and drinking rum, they have a lot of songs about God, about how I woke up blessed. I am
Yeah.
like talking about gratitude. And I didn't realize that until this year, being that I had a huge reset in the last year of my life. And when you have resets, you have to be really intentional about your next steps because you don't want to revert to old habits. And you also recognize that with resets comes challenges, and it also brings this space of loneliness sometimes, or you can look at it as solitude. Depends. Vulnerability, where you have to ask for more than you you intended to or are used to. And I think as we think about things that we can do to when we are in those spaces of solitude, like meditation, right? You are a Kundalini yoga instructor, or you're just okay.
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
am
So,
certified to teach Kundalini yoga. And I have it's interesting. It's based on the teachings of a yogi practitioner named Yogi Bhajan. And essentially, it's meditation, it's movement, and it's breath work. At its core, that's what it is. So in every class is like 90 minutes long, and it includes movement, breath work, and a meditation. So you move the body because our body, we have 10 subtle bodies.
okay.
And we can get into that on another day. But essentially, you move the body because as energy flows throughout the day, and sometimes energy gets stuck in certain parts of our body. So we move the body, and then we add prana or breath. And that will help. That honestly sometimes makes people feel high in and of itself because it's adding so much oxygen to your system. And then you meditate. And it's a really beautiful practice. It's been one that I've come to really love. And I practice a lot of alternative meditation modalities. I've recently been studying the Silva method, the Silva mind control method from Mind Valley. And Vishen Lakhiani. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
No.
yeah, it was developed by this gentleman named Jose Silva, who basically taught his kids how to heal other people, heal themselves, heal other people, and also collapse time and bringing things into their reality. And it's really based on, and this is so much a part of being in that discomfort zone of who you are becoming along your journey as an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing every day, becoming. And a lot of people are like, I just want to live my life.
Yeah.
And I said to a girlfriend this morning, I said, you know what? I just want to become every day. I just want to be becoming the greatest version of myself on rinse and repeat. And if that means that I'm sitting in an ice bath today, then I need to take an ice or a cold plunge, or do I need to walk over hot coals today? I want my default to be yes. I'm going to do that because ultimately, if I do this thing for 2 seconds or that short, because it's always going to be a short amount of time. Like we're always afraid to do that thing that's like, well, I don't know, like even, for example, going live on Instagram, on social media.
Yes.
Everybody's like, especially on TikTok right now, everybody's like, yeah, you need to go live, go live, go live.
Right.
I keep talking myself out of doing so. But on the other side of that, like I did a whole series last year.
Yes, you did. Yep.
And it was great and it was a lot of fun. And then I tell myself, which I'm reframing, that I don't know what to talk about. Yes, you do.
Yeah, we've
Yes, you
all been
do.
there. We have all been there.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think there's so much to say about that, um, especially when you're so knowledgeable and have insight into things beyond your business that you can share.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to, all right, show up in front of the camera, what are you going to talk about? It's like,
Yeah.
my mind is blank. I don't know. What do people want to know? They already
I
know
can't
this.
help people.
No,
I
the
don't do
information's
this
already
every
out
day.
there. Yeah, people already know
Yes.
about this. There are already people talking about it.
Not
So
in the way
then,
that you can.
not in the way that you can. And it takes time to really figure out what that is,
Yeah.
because you really don't know until you start doing it. And then you're like, oh, actually, I realized that I
I got
really
this.
enjoy talking about this thing. And
hmm
I'm going to dive into that deeper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When
I
you
think a
asked me
lot.
about doing this topic, I was like, what are we going to talk about? And then I was like, but I love talking about this stuff. So
when,
this
when
is
we had our
great.
pre-production call, Stephanie, it was basically like a podcast episode. Like you were on your way to get your son, and you like
Yeah.
just sharing all the gems. I'm like, I hope you can hold on to these for when we start talking, because you show up online speaking about this, and you've been doing it, and you can do it in different categories, whether you're speaking to moms, creatives, actors, and beyond. You
Yeah.
will get comfortable with it, and you will learn to like it,
hmm
because you'll realize that by you doing it, you're helping other people. And that
Yes.
has made a huge difference for me in the way that I approach all of this. And I think, to your point about showing up on TikTok Live, Instagram Live, there are a lot of mean people out there,
Yeah.
right?
hmm
And, they say, like, don't worry about the negative comments, but it
You
plays a
can
big
see it.
role.
You got eyes. You can see and you read and, people feel.
Yes,
People
you're
feel.
human. So it's
Yes.
normal. But there's something to say about having everything you already need.
hmm
You think you need more, right? In order
Yes.
to do the thing, but you have everything you need. It just comes down to your mindset.
Yes. Yes.
And I know you have a story
Mhm.
about bringing life into this world.
Yes. I was just thinking about the day I gave birth to my son. I was in labor for probably like 8 hours. I got into the hospital around 5:30 or 6 p.m. And I had my son like around 6 a.m. So, but
Wow.
they were inducing me. So I didn't really start feeling contractions until like 10 or 11.
Mm.
And I remember being like, okay, I'm smooth sailing. And I had done hypnobirthing, which is basically meditative labor, where your contractions are called waves.
Oh, that's a good way to look
So,
at it.
yes, yes, because they
Okay.
are, and they're only 1 minute every time. They're only one
It's a
minute long.
long 1 minute,
It's
though,
a long
right?
1 minute if it's intense. But we did, they train you, and like we did exercises where you would hold ice for a minute, 60 seconds in
Oh.
both of your hands and just work on your breathing, your cyclical breathing.
Can we do this without, like, giving birth? Like, is that
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that.
Also, like ice is magical for the nervous system anyway. Like if you put ice in a bowl and you're feeling like your anxiety is going up, or if you're feeling really overwhelmed, you can give your face a cold plunge for like
Oh.
30 to 40 seconds, and you
Uh-huh.
will feel golden on the other side. And it's also great for your skin.
I mean, why not?
Yes. Um,
Incorporate that into your weekly routine.
at least once a week, or cold showers
Oh,
also.
cold shower. Yes. Okay.
Back to the story.
Yeah.
Was probably 30 minutes from giving birth to my son, and I didn't realize it. I didn't know it at the time, but I started feeling some really, really intense pain. It was the first time in the whole labor that I was like, I might need some meds. And
Mm.
so I asked my nurse, my midwife, I said, can I get some meds? And she goes, it's time to push. And so I realized in that moment that if I didn't push, I would, number
Mm.
one, either kill my baby
Oh, wow.
or miss the opportunity because his heart rate was elevating because I was freaking out.
Wow.
And so my midwife literally was like, this was your plan, Stephanie. You decided that you wanted to have a natural birth, and you've done so amazing up to this point. So the next time you feel this contraction, we get to push.
Wow.
And, 15 minutes later, he was out. And I was like, it was such a metaphor for being
So
an
many
entrepreneur.
metaphors.
And so
Yes.
many things. Like, how do you get to the point where you're literally this close to a breakthrough and you want to stop? Or you want a remedy, or you want a quick fix, or you want somebody to do it for you, or you want somebody to open a door for you that only you can open. So it was my biggest aha moment of like, oh wow, it's really me. And if I'm not here, if I'm not mentally strong, and if I'm not like focused on, vibrating at the highest frequency,
Right.
and you could be taken under,
Wow. Yeah. And your life and others
others,
are affected by it, by one choice.
By your one choice to say, I can't do it anymore. It's too hard.
Yes.
Everything that's worth having is going to come with a challenge to make you a greater version of you.
Yes, it will. And when you mentioned that she said this was a part of your plan.
Yes. She was like, you chose this.
You were confident going in, like, this is what I'm going to do. Then you get in the middle, and you get towards the end, and you're like, I don't know about this. Even though you probably did all the work, the research, and everything in between to prepare for that.
Yes.
But try to derail from your original plan. Do you know how often that occurs in the entrepreneur's world?
Yes. All the time. All the time. I mean, Cassie and I started this company almost 5 years ago.
And the company's Creatricity.
Creatricity. Yes. We started almost 5 years ago. And if we had said, it's just, it's too hard, right, or, people are not going to believe in this, we would have quit.
Right.
We would have quit, and we would not have done all the amazing things that we've done so far and are about to keep doing.
Right. Exactly. And I think, there's this knowing that you have to have to complete it. Right. Because I can't tell you how many times after leaving corporate I've been on LinkedIn to be like, well,
just in case.
What if? Because now that I know what I know, I mean, I could be more intentional about that 401k, and then I can use that to like build this business. Like there have been so many moments of doubt, and then I'll be reminded, like, girl, come on. You got this. Get out of that, because then something out of the blue will show up. And I guess, how do we handle those moments of doubt? Because sometimes people can actually execute on that doubt, and things will show up for them where they may get that new job. And, that might be a part of their path, but it may not necessarily be a part of their ultimate goal, because then they end up going down the rabbit hole again and being unhappy.
Well, to me, that's part of our dharma, which is to find out who we are. And if you miss it once, it's going to come back again, and you're going to have to pass that test, or you're going to have to keep experiencing that same issue until you overcome it. Right. And so, that's the one side of it. And then on the other side of it is that you just have to make the choice that by any means necessary, I'm doing this, and it might feel a little uncomfortable, but if I don't do it, I would rather not experience that side.
Right.
So,
Making a choice.
It has to be a choice. Destiny is not left up to chance. It's a matter of choice.
Destiny is not left up to chance. It's a matter of choice. That's a caption that we're going to use.
Yes, it's by, and the person who said it ultimately, originally his name is William Jennings Bryan.
Oh, I thought it was you.
It's not
Okay.
me.
Shout out to William.
One of my favorite quotes.
It's so good. It makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
to your point, getting to know who you are, let's talk about alter egos, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that's something that you've been working on as far as, I'll just let you dive into it.
Yeah, I have been doing a lot of study on identity shifting. And essentially, that just means you decide who you are every single moment of every single day. And if the person that you are right now, that you're embodying right now, does not match who you see yourself ultimately becoming, how can you take one micro step towards that person or that frequency every single day? And so in that, I have started playing a game where I am creating my alter ego. You know how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce,
Right.
and she shows up like her. I think Taylor Swift has one too, but like
That says a lot. If they have an
it
alter
tells you how much they know about the mind.
all
And
right.
yes, people who are at that level, you think I was watching, actually funny story, I was watching The Crown, which is an amazing series, and I was like, Princess Diana had an astrologer, an energy healer, and all of these things in the 80s, 70s, 80s. What were we doing? They were like putting the lid on all the tools that actually can help us become greater human beings and find that roadmap that actually illuminates things. Anyway,
Wow. That's so interesting.
it is. But as far as an alter ego, I have not named myself yet.
Okay.
But I am working on putting together maybe a challenge for my social media followers. I'm going to be changing the way I dress. I'm going to be changing some of the things that I do daily, how I show up in certain spaces. Because in my mind, I see myself in a certain, I've created a picture.
Right.
So I'm excited about that, and I will
Yeah.
definitely share. Yeah.
And I think, just to clarify, you're not saying to change who you are or not accepting who you are, but you're saying
No.
focus on who you want to be and really diving into like the direction that you're walking into and activating that person now.
Yes, yes, yes. Being the person who runs the, 7-figure business. What does that person do every single day that you're not doing today?
Right.
Is procrastination something that you're dealing with? Is, that you can, okay, well, if this thing is on my list and I need to do it today, I need to do it today,
Right.
not 3 weeks from now. Like just
Yep.
those small micro adjustments will make all the difference and actually push you in the direction of that frequency that you're envisioning for yourself.
Right. And that
Yeah.
could be a year from now, 5, 10.
Yes, or it could be in 6 months because we can be unrecognizable in as little as 3 months
That's
or
true.
less if you're willing to just say, guess what? You think about somebody who smoked for their entire life and then all of a sudden they go cold turkey and now they're a non-smoker.
Yep. Or drinking, eating
Drinking,
meat.
whatever it is, that
Yeah,
vice, and then all of a sudden you said that's an identity shift. Now
it
you're not
is.
identifying as a smoker. Now you're not identifying as someone who overeats. Now you're not identifying as someone who procrastinates.
So how do you stick to it? Because it's easy to get excited about something new and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then fall off after a few days.
Discipline
Yeah.
and getting up every day. And again, destiny's not left up to chance. It's a matter of choice. Every day you get up. You think about the greatest athletes and entertainers in our world. Like,
Yep.
what are they doing every day? You don't have
Yeah.
we don't have an excuse. You
We
know?
don't. And I think sometimes the media tends to portray them as superhumans.
Yes.
So because of that, it doesn't feel as attainable to be as successful as a Kobe, a Beyonce, and
It can be
beyond.
in your measure. You're not that, and that's the thing too. Moving yourself out of the place of comparison.
Yes.
This is not a comparison game. This is you against you.
Right.
And if you today does not feel like that person who is thriving at that seven-figure level, like that just feels so good in me, but what's missing
What's
from
missing?
who I am today that I need to become so I can have and attain those things and then, distribute my wealth to help other people.
Right.
You have to
Yeah.
become that person right now, or at least start making inspired actions towards that goal.
So it's the discipline and just making a choice, sticking to it, unlike the workout plans or the
Yes.
diet.
And is it a workout plan or is it your lifestyle? Is that person someone who takes care of their body because they want 100% vitality because they run a seven-figure business, and if they're tired or if they're unfit, they're not going to have the same bandwidth to do the things that they already do.
That's true. That's true. And the same applies to relationships too,
Yes. Yes.
right? Because that's a
Yes.
part of running a business, having healthy relationships, whether it's personal, business, being a mom, and
Yes.
having a healthy relationship with your child or
But
children.
just, I mean, that amplifies my desire to get to that frequency because my son watches everything I do. Your kids watch everything that you do.
Yeah.
And if I'm procrastinating, if I'm lazy, if I'm not taking care of my body, if I'm not, you know, speaking with kindness, if I'm not, working smarter, not harder,
Right.
um, then those will be characteristics that my son picks up.
Yeah.
They
Agree.
will become his habits. And who do I want him to become? Powerful, strong, and, someone who executes at the highest level.
I think the same applies to having siblings
100.
and even just your friend group, because it's the people closest to you that admire what you do, and they're like, oh, okay, you're doing great, so I want to do great too. So all right, I'm going to follow what you're doing. And if you sometimes you end up being someone's hope simply because you just choose to say yes, choose to do
Hmm.
it anyway. And when you
Yeah.
fall out of that, you take away from them too. So again, it's
Hmm.
beyond you.
Yes, and why? Like you watch, we're the sum of the five closest people to us, and you recognize that sometimes your friend group is all growing at the same time, and sometimes you're the only one growing. And if you're the only one growing, then something needs to change because
Hmm.
ultimately we can only it's something that my parents taught me from John Maxwell's teachings, and it's called the law of the lid.
The
And
law of the lid.
essentially, you can only go as high as the person who has the most knowledge, experience, in the business. So usually that's the CEO or the C-suite in a business. These people are limited in their thinking. The people underneath can only rise to this level. And that happens in your friend group too. So if you are the person who is the most advanced, then you need to go out and get some more friends, some new friends. Put yourself in bigger rooms because,
Mm,
you know, your net worth is determined by your network.
it is. Yeah.
So,
And I
yeah.
think that's the same thing when it comes to leadership, right?
Yes.
Because as the CEO of your business and you have a team that you're leading, they're not just showing up to do the work for you. They're also watching what you're doing out in the world
Yes.
through your business. And the same thing when it comes to your community online. If you're an influencer, content creator, like how you show up
Mm.
impacts that community. So it's like there are just so many different arms that are
Yes.
attached to you and the choices, but also your mind. And it can be scary to consider like navigating this path of, oh, I need to make adjustments, and these adjustments are going to affect other parts of my life.
But you have to make a concerted decision to reframe the thoughts that come up that say, what about this? What about that? Is this going to happen? Oh my gosh, because that is a lack mindset
Lack
across
mindset.
the board.
Yes. And we
So
don't need that.
we don't need that. Ain't
Not
nobody
in
got time for
business,
that. Not in
not
business,
in
not in
anything.
relationship, nowhere.
Nowhere.
Because it is a self-limiting belief.
Yep. Limited beliefs. Listen. Listen,
So I
we've
want the
definitely,
exponential opportunities. So
yes.
I'm gonna do the work that it takes to, as my dad used to always say, spank your brain. Spank your brain. Nope. I need to reframe this. I need to redirect because that's not true.
That's not
At
true.
the end of the day, it's not true.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's so interesting to think about the perspective of the mindset from a lens of being an entrepreneur, but recognizing that it's not limited to just your business.
it's
It's your
just of
life.
who
It's a
you are.
lifestyle.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, just
It
like anything
is.
else that you
Mm-hmm.
choose for
Yes.
you. Stephanie, this has been a fruitful conversation,
Yes.
and I'm so thankful for you. Before we leave, we ask all of our guides to give us a gift, right? Because it is called Gifted and Guided.
Yeah.
And the gift is the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm.
And in this segment, I would love to ask for you to give us something to walk away with, whether it be a question to reflect on that we ask ourselves, or a journal prompt that we can just delve into whenever we have some free time.
Yes. This one is something that I use every day,
Okay.
and I use it for different categories of my life. And you can choose career, love, whatever it is that is most applicable to you. But the question is, why not me? Why not me?
Why not me? Okay.
And then this exercise, like this journal prompt, is like, I would say double pronged. It could be multi pronged because what it does is uncover your self limiting thoughts and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend some time writing about that, or writing all the things that come up for you. Why not you? Why have you told yourself that this is not going to happen for you in whatever that area is? So you get all of that out, and then on another sheet of paper, you talk about, well, why not me? Well, why me? Because
Mm-hmm.
because and all of the things that you have, all of the resources, all the skills, the gifts that you have, so that when you think those things, the why nots, the actual factual comes up for you instead. But you have to get it out in writing with actual pen and paper and not typing is
Oh.
preferred.
Okay, so there is something tied to that because I've heard that before of like
Yes.
writing it down is
It's
better.
very powerful because while typing, you will definitely get it out of your mind.
Mm.
Spelling is actually you casting spells when you're writing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's
Spelling.
not mine either. I heard that from Erica Badu, but it's true. It is true. The power of the spoken word. There's power in whispering. Whispering.
Oh.
So sometimes I whisper affirmations. There's power in the thought process or the thought of that affirmation. And then when you write something, it
Mm.
becomes real because now it's not in your head anymore. It's actually real on paper. And then you set by when dates. That's
Oh,
the next.
setting dates. And that's where I think a lot of people lack the discipline, execution, because it's one thing to have the idea, the thought, and the excitement around it, but to
How
do something
bad do you
about it.
want it? How bad do
Right.
you want it? I heard Cody Sanchez is she's an entrepreneur. She owns so many businesses like laundromats and vending machines and stuff like that. But anyway, she said one of her mentors told her that it's not in business, it's not the person who does the most, it's the one who does it the fastest.
Oh.
So that, for example,
Hmm.
if you needed to, she was like, can you be the first to go to market? Can you be the first to, because it's not that that person outworked you, it's that you were able to execute faster. So she was like, in her business, they have a 24-hour rule. If somebody has an idea, they have 24 hours to execute the first step in making that thing happen,
Wow.
as opposed to analysis paralysis and allowing
Yes.
like weeks to go by, which I have been a victim of myself.
Same. Yes. Same.
24 hours?
That's, yeah, because it's like,
Take the
well,
first
what
step,
about life? Like the things I have to do, my to-do list, like it just,
but is success on your to-do list? Every day it
right.
is.
Yes.
Every day it
So,
is. And that one thing to get the ball rolling would just be to get the idea out.
mm,
Put it on paper, because
yeah.
now we can create a strategy to execute. But if you
Wow.
don't eat, like, if you spend, okay, well, we had this idea, and then like in 2 weeks, we're going to come back to it and we're going to put, no, no. So
Wow.
I
That's,
just heard that yesterday. It hit me in the chest and I had to share it because that's a shift. That is a shift.
that is a shift. And to what you were saying earlier about Beyonce, Taylor Swift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Michael Jackson really quick. Okay. Michael would wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, dream, and call his team. Be like,
Yep.
if we don't do it, Prince will.
Yes. Yes.
So what you're saying, it's like, wow.
Yes.
There should be a study about like people who are at that level and their
And the
mindset.
person who had the idea originally.
Oh, yes, that's another.
That's,
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying? Like that,
yeah.
it really inspired me because ultimately we are the captain of our destiny.
Yeah.
And the only way to collapse time is to go faster. And you can still work smarter and
Right.
not harder, but you can do it strategically and you can
Yeah.
move with expediency, because ultimately we all have other ideas that we want to execute down the line.
Right.
And let's say I collapse. If we were going to succeed in 2 years from now, what if I could do it in 6 months
And that
and keep my
doesn't,
peace and protect my peace?
right, and we're not encouraging burnout either, because
No, absolutely
when
not.
you hear faster, you might think, "Oh, I can't get any sleep. I have to like."
No,
No, that's not
no.
what's being said. It's truly the fact that execution is a priority,
Yes.
and making excuses should be on the back burner.
Yeah, I call, we've heard I've heard this term or this phrase, the shitty first draft.
Oh,
Yes, I
I
call
think we
it
can all relate.
the SFD, but it's essentially progress over perfection,
Yes.
and consistently making or taking steps in the direction of your desired goal every single moment of every single day. And that even means rest,
Rest.
because
Yes.
you cannot do those things that you're wanting to do if you're not well rested. And if
Yeah.
you're not mentally clear, if you are overloaded with anxiety, if you have not taken care of your body by eating good foods, it becomes a domino effect ultimately.
And you can't run a business at that point.
You can't. You can't. You think about the most successful business people in the world, and two of their most common denominators are their vitality, their wellness, mental, spiritual, and physical. And their spirituality is kind of like, a close second. Like they're all tapped in and they're all working on becoming better versions of themselves. They spend a lot of money on personal development and growth.
So
that's where they invest their money.
If we want to debunk the whole woo-woo thing, okay?
Okay. It's happening and it's working, it's working for a lot of people.
It's making it work for you and in determining what that looks like for you. You don't have to follow everyone's path to what that is, but recognizing there's power in spirituality, your higher self, like really understanding how these things work beyond what we can see on this earth.
Yeah. And creating and designing a life that you love.
Right.
Yeah.
That's important. Wow. I love that we had an extension of our conversation in this segment because this is supposed to be our closing segment. It got even better. I'm like, dang, there are so many gems shared. And again, that is why this was a gift, right? Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of the Gifted and Guided community. We're so happy to have you here. We have so much
It's my absolute pleasure. I adore you. I'm so proud of you and all that you are doing, becoming, and growing, how you're growing your business. It's my delight and pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we will definitely see more from you as this community grows and with all the amazing things to come. I can't wait to be able to have a space where you can activate and instruct us on all these things that you were sharing today.
Oh.
A retreat or,
call me, girl.
Get some sponsors.
I will be there.
Flown out. But yeah, so with that being said, Stephanie, how can we follow you or connect with you?
You can find Creatricity at creatricity.io. If you're not a part of our community, you can apply to become a part of our community. We are for vetted media and entertainment professionals, whether you're in the up and coming phase of your career or you're someone who's an industry veteran like me. We would love to have you be a part of our community. It keeps growing, and we have amazing events throughout the year to provide insight, resources, and all of the things that budding and veteran entertainers can receive.
So exciting. With that being said, Stephanie,
yes,
let's go live our best lives.
Let's do it.
And go get some rest. Yes. Because it's key.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Gifted and Guided podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social platforms at The Gifted and Guided. And make sure to DM us and email us. We want to hear from you. Until next week, may your cup overflow as you mind your business and walk in purpose. This is Gifted and Guided.